You think D-I-E is D-E-A-D because Claudine Gay got deposed at Harvard? Hardly. Sharita Golden, Dr. Sharita Golden, she's a medical doctor. She's also the chief diversity officer at Johns Hopkins Medicine.
Gross. Just a waste of her time. Okay.
Medical doctor, chief diversity officer, Johns Hopkins Medicine, one of the reputedly best medical schools in the world, a la Harvard, reputedly being one of the best universities in the world. Neither are true anymore because, in part of this, she sent out a missive yesterday announcing their MLK Day celebrations. Their commemoration event is today. It will be held at the Chevy Chase Auditorium on the East Baltimore campus of Johns Hopkins. Noted engineer and physician Mae Jemison will be the keynote speaker. Great. Mae Jemison, the first black woman to travel in space. Fantastic. She's an inspiration. That's not the only part of the announcement. The other part of the announcement is the diversity word of the month.
Oh, please tell me what it is. I've been dying to know.
Privilege is the diversity word of the month. Privilege is a set of unearned benefits given to people who are in a specific social group. Privilege is granted to people who have membership in one or more of the following social identity groups: white people, able-bodied people, heterosexuals, cisgender people, males, Christians, middle or owning class people, middle-aged people, English-speaking people. These are the dragons we must slay to have an equitable society. White people, able-bodied people, heterosexuals, cisgendered, males, Christians, middle-aged people, English-speaking people. They're privileged just by being in this group. And they are our enemies because they are our oppressors. That's the subtext, of course. Well, there's a little bit of hue and cry about that portion of the statement she issued. So the next day, yesterday, she issued the following: Dear colleagues.
Oh, I didn't mean it, but I meant it. The non-apology apology, or is this a genuine apology?
The newsletter included a definition of the word privilege, which upon reflection, you reflected on it. No, you got excoriated for it from certain quarters, and now you're issuing this to your colleagues letter.
And she's trying to keep her job.
I deeply regret it. The intent of the newsletter is to inform and support an inclusive community at Hopkins, but this language clearly did not meet that goal. Geez, boy, you wrote this whole thing, and you look at it and say, yeah, that sounds about right. That meets this goal. No, it doesn't meet this goal because it had the opposite effect of being exclusionary. I retract and disavow
the definition. Yeah.
And I'm sorry. I will work to ensure that future messages better reflect our organizational values. Well, what are they? What are those organizational values? I mean, you're just not supposed to say the things so directly that she said. But how do you have a chief diversity officer and not extol what she wrote as the organization's values? That's like saying we're going to remove the hydrogen from water.
Somebody texted in, black female chief diversity officers are more privileged than nearly everyone covered under the list. They're paid far more than the average middle-class person, and they have the privilege of being hired and treated above criticism because of their race and sex.
Yeah, Dr. Golden, an executive at Johns Hopkins, is oppressed by some middle-class white guy in Ohio.
I doubt it, yeah. Please.
For more on this and a better understanding of what we all should be reflecting upon on MLK Day, which is Monday, our friend Bob Woodson joins us. He's the founder and president of the Woodson Center and also the 1776 Project, author of Red, White, and Black, Rescuing American History from Revisionists and Race Hustlers. Bob, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me on, Dan.
So, give us your review of, since we haven't spoken with you since this firestorm in the Ivy League and the donor class and like Bill Ackman and Elon Musk arguing with Mark Cuban and, all this stuff that has just been going on for a long time and has some new entrants. but it also has a real stickiness at our institutions of allegedly higher learning, as well as in corporate America. And maybe just to stop, look, and listen from your perspective, since you have such a longitudinal understanding of this, where we are now.
Well, thank God that you have people in positions like this woman and Claudine Gay, that they're so extreme in their positions that it renders what they're saying ridiculous. And so that's the good news. And as a consequence, I think there's been a backlash in society that some of the corporations that embrace DEI training for employees are now backing off, and some of these DEI offices are closing. And what they fail to understand is that, as Shelby Field and others pointed out, that low expectations and a grievance-based worldview has trapped many low-income blacks in an intellectual prison of a self-inflicted genocide. If we keep bombarding children with the message that, particularly black children, they live in a country that hates and despises them, and they begin to believe that they are unworthy of being loved. When white children are told that they are unworthy because they are privileged and oppressors, this too can lead to self-devaluation. Hate destroys, I think, both the purveyor and its object.
Well, do you think that DEI has no place in society?
Absolutely not. What does it mean? I mean, there isn't, as Tom Sowell pointed out, there isn't even diversity within families. He says that of the 29 astronauts at the time, 21 were firstborn. Diversity. Right. Diversity is not a natural state of anything. I mean, black men are 6% of the population. They're 80% of the NBA and the NFL. There are no Asian tackles in the NFL. Is that because they get discriminated against? So in other words, whenever there's disparity and it's positive, it's overlooked. Does it mean that the NFL discriminates against white men, against Asians, against Hispanics? Or is there just a single standard of merit that blacks happen to be focused on?
The other thing,
ice hockey. There are not many blacks playing ice hockey. Does that mean that there's? So this is just a ridiculous discussion.
Well, the thing I like so much about the Johns Hopkins is the irony is completely lost on, somebody who's clearly very educated, Dr. Golden, and all of these other Dye acolytes. Mae Jemison is almost 70 years old. I'm sure she faced racism in her life, and yet whatever burdens or hurdles were put in her way, she became the first black woman to travel in space. So you have the example of Mae Jemison that you're platforming, rightly so, on Martin Luther King Day to show an example of you can do anything in this country. And at the same time, you're saying you can't do anything in this country because you're black and oppressed.
Yeah. And also, Claudine Gay went to Exeter Academy. I mean, she's at the creme of the creme when it comes to privilege in America. And she makes $900,000 a year as the ex-president of Harvard. How disadvantaged can she be?
Well, for Monday, one of the things that's so great about the work that you do and the Woodson Center does is you're trying to elevate the stories and the history that people are not as familiar with as they should be. And it's all of the success stories of black Americans despite the odds. I won't steal your lines, but you've got some great lines on this that really drive the point home. And it seems to me that one of the things that we can do on Martin Luther King Day and in this larger discussion on Dye versus the alternative is just tell stories that not enough people know.
Exactly. And our curriculum, Dan, that we developed from our essays, Red, White, and Black, it's been downloaded now 130,000 times in all 50 states. There's a thirst for content. There's a thirst for truth. Unless we have fact-based truth, then lies will become normal. And so, but there is truly a thirst for truth. And people are responding to it. Even Oregon school systems has embracing the 1776 Unites curriculum. as New Hampshire and others are waking up to the fact that America has to return to the embrace of the values of this nation. Black Americans, we have 25 blacks who were born slaves who died millionaires. And many of them couldn't even read or write. Only in America could you have this phenomenon occur. This is what we should be celebrating. People are motivated when there are victories that are possible, not injuries to be avoided.
I spoke with Shelby Steele a couple of months ago, and one of the things that he said, which is probably a shocking statement to many, particularly many that are die-addled, is that, look, racism is over in America. Not in the sense that there aren't racists in America, 330 million people. There are going to be some ignoramuses out there. But in terms of structural racism, de jure racism, racism under the color of law, segregation, and so forth, that is over. And the sooner there's more realization that it's over and people can focus on seizing opportunity and understanding what are sort of productive behaviors that open the doors of opportunity, the better off black, white, and everybody else is going to be. I mean, the whole idea that racism, meaning structural racism, is over, that seems to be an important message to drive discussion, because I think it, as I said, I think it will raise a lot of eyebrows in certain quarters.
No, but I think, as Alan Patton said in Cry by Love Country, that it's important to replace something with something else of value. Right now, the Harvard study says that the leading cause of death of our young people, whether low income blacks, is homicide. Upper income white kids in Silicon Valley is suicide, and Appalachian whites is prescription drugs. This is the crisis that we're facing, but we'll never come together to address this problem if we're transfixed on race. It is not a race problem that we have in America. It's a grace crisis. And we need to put aside the whole issue of race so we can deal with this larger, more destructive phenomena that is occurring.
I want to make sure people can get the curriculum that Bob Woodson was describing. WoodsonCenter.org is where you go to get that curriculum that he was describing. Maybe that's something you should download in advance of Martin Luther King Day and take the occasion to distribute to people who you think would benefit from reviewing it. WoodsonCenter.org, How We Help /How We Help curriculum. But anyway, WoodsonCenter.org, and you can find their curriculum, 1776 Unites. And it's the lessons are free, so go get it. Bob Woodson, founder and president of the Woodson Center, author of Red, White, and Black, Rescuing American History from Revisionists and Race Hustlers. And get that curriculum, and make sure you